century, somewhere on the edge of the known world, a sword appeared that had no right to exist. It wasn't just sharper than anything European smiths could make. It was made from a metal European smiths didn't know how to make. A steel so pure, so advanced, that when modern metallurgists first tested it in the 20th century, they couldn't believe what their instruments were telling them. They called it the Ulfberht, and for over 1,000 years, no one could explain it. The Viking Age ran roughly from the late 8th century through the 11th, a period when Norse warriors reshaped the map of the world through raids, trade, and settlement from the coasts of Ireland to the rivers of Russia. And their swords were their identity, not just weapons, status, power. The difference between a lord and a farmer was often decided by the blade hanging at his side. But most Viking swords were brittle by modern standards. European iron of the period was filled with impurities, slag, carbon inconsistencies, microscopic voids that turned a sword into a liability the moment temperatures dropped below freezing. Blades shattered, warriors died. And then someone made the Ulfberht. Inscribed into the center of the blade in inlaid iron letters, a cross, then the letters VLFBERHT, then another cross. The name of a Frankish noble, or a master smith, or a workshop that existed for nearly 200 years, producing swords that should have been impossible. Because the steel inside an authentic Ulfberht isn't European. When researchers analyzed the carbon content and slag levels of genuine Ulfberht blades, what they found was crucible steel, a process of melting iron at temperatures above 1,500 degrees Celsius that removes impurities completely. A technique that, in the 9th century, was only known in Central Asia and the Middle East. Somehow, Viking traders carrying goods along the Volga River trade route, the great eastern corridor connecting Scandinavia to the Islamic world, were bringing back something more valuable than silk or silver. They were bringing back the metal that made the Ulfberht possible. And one smith, or one dynasty of smiths, knew exactly what to do with it. The bar of steel going into this forge right now carries that same ambition. High-carbon crucible steel, the closest modern equivalent to what a 9th century Ulfberht smith would have worked with. The kind of steel that, back then, would have been worth its weight in gold. Literally. Every heat, every hammer blow, every pass across the grinder is compressing and aligning the steel's grain structure, forcing out any weakness. A sword like this isn't just shaped, it's argued into existence, blow by blow, until the metal stops fighting back and starts cooperating. The fuller running down the center of the blade isn't decorative, it's structural engineering. A channel that removes weight while maintaining rigidity. The same principle used in modern I-beams, giving this sword a flex-to-weight ratio that would have seemed like sorcery to anyone who'd only ever held a standard European blade. When the quench comes, that moment when glowing steel meets cold oil and the future of the blade is decided in a fraction of a second, this is where most swords fail. Too fast and the blade shatters. Too slow, and it stays soft. The authentic Ulfberht survived this moment. Over 170 of them have been found across Northern Europe. Every single genuine example passed that test. Most of the fakes didn't. And there were fakes, even then. Inferior swords with misspelled inscriptions, stamped with a name they hadn't earned, wielded by warriors who didn't know the difference until it was too late. Polishing a blade like this isn't just cosmetic, it's diagnostic. Every scratch, every inclusion, every flaw in the steel surfaces under fine abrasives. If something is wrong, you find it here. If nothing is wrong, if the steel is truly
Genuinely. A well-made sword outlived its makers, outlived its owners, outlived kingdoms. And now it's finished. The plus VLFBERHT plus inscription catching the light. The double-edged blade with its perfect taper. A grip built to be held by a hand that means it. 1,000 years ago, a warrior who carried one of these didn't just have a better sword. He had a sword that the rest of the known world could not explain, could not replicate, and could not take from him by force without paying a very serious price. They called it the sword that shouldn't have existed. And yet here it is, again. If this kind of history forged in steel is what you're here for, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay with us. There's a lot more where this came from.